Hi everyone, good afternoon, good morning, good evening or good night, and welcome back to our second level student course revision. And this is webinar number 4 in our series that Mary and myself are creating for you. So in our last webinar, we looked at revision strategies around coming up to your revising now, coming up to your Leaving Cert exam. Some of the highlights for me were creating a safe, kind of quiet, comfortable environment for yourself, communicating that to everybody in your household or everybody where you're living, so that everybody knows, okay, between the hours of 6 and 8 or 6 and 7, I'm going to be studying. Mary also brought us through some techniques of revising, so creating flashcards, chunking down our summaries, writing down definitions and having them in a easy accessible space for us, and then situational reminders as well. So the technique of Loki, of walking around your room to remember things, and I thought that was a really good tip as well, using different colors, you're hitting all of your senses in your study, in your revision. So today we're going to carry on from that one, and we're going to carry on from number 3 into some more revision strategies with Mary today, and we'll start off. So welcome on board. Thanks, Mary.
Okay, thanks again for joining us again, and hopefully you've got some benefit from the previous webinars, and we're going to continue on the same theme, and Mary's here to help support me and maybe ask some questions or develop things out a wee bit from her own experiences as well. So we're looking at this whole idea of revision strategies. We mentioned some, and as I said in the last webinar, it's not one size fits all. It's what works for you, and it doesn't matter what works for you. If it works, it works. That's what you really need to hone in on, and that's the thing that you need to spend most time on, because that is your effective revision strategy. And this is what it's all about. It's using your time effectively in order to learn what you need for the exam. Okay. Now, so one of the first things that is really, really important is getting the information into a way that you can learn it. We cannot learn a textbook. It's impossible. No matter how intelligent you are, as I've said all the time, examinations are not linked to intelligence. All the research has shown over and over again, it's simply technique. And this is what we need to be thinking about, is this idea of technique. And revision is a technique in order to get the information into your long-term memory in a way that you can get it back out again. Because there is no point of it in your long-term memory if you can't bring it back out again in the examination. So what we're trying to look at is things like mind mapping. And it's actually the physical activity of creating a mind map that makes it memorable. So basically a mind map, as you all probably know because you've used them to this point, is that you have the information in a way that is accessible to you. They're used to generate ideas. They're used to help you visualize your ideas. But it's the actual physical activity of taking the time with your colored pens on a big, big piece of paper. The bigger piece of paper, the better. Put it up on the wall. The great thing, if you get a piece of old wallpaper, an old roll of wallpaper, the back of that's a great thing for doing mind maps. You cut it to the size you want and you stick it up on your wall. And every colour represents a different aspect. This is one just here for global warming. But if you look at this here, this could be a wee bit overpowering for you to remember all the information on that, because there's probably too much in that. So you'd have this as your big main mind map, and then underneath that, you'd have all of the wee branches taken out and put onto separate cards or separate pieces of paper. So you don't become overwhelmed, because that is an overload of information and you won't be able to remember it all. But you have the bigger picture, and then you break the bigger picture down to the smaller picture. And you've probably all used these, very simple as a global warming one, so doing something, eat less meat, use less, and all the pictures and images and that go with it, be a catalyst for change and all the pictures that go with that. So it's trying to make it a visual representation of the things that you need to discuss in the examination if you're asked a question on, for example, global warming.
And here at the Dyslexia Association, we're a big fan of mind maps, aren't we, Mary? We recommend mind maps from very young children right the way up to adult learners, to people in employment who have dyslexia. Mind maps are a really great way of getting that chunk or that short burst of information into your mind, isn't it, really? So it's good. Yeah, they're good.
And also, I think as well, you're getting it organized in your mind.
Yeah.
Because part of the problem you have dyslexia is sometimes this organization ability. And if you don't organize the information going in, it's going to be very, very hard to get organized information out again.
Out,
So,
exactly.
and mind maps are a great way of organizing information going in. And sometimes when something is so familiar, we nearly dismiss it as not being effective. We're all looking for this real, that I'm going to tell you something here today you haven't thought of. Like, I'm sorry, we don't have that answer because everything has been tried and tested and it's very, very effective. So mind maps are a really effective way of good, solid revision because organizing your thoughts in when it's going in, and then you've got to organize your thoughts coming back out again. And it's very, very simple. Draw a picture in the middle of the paper that sums up your main topic, your subject, thick lines from the picture to show your main ideas, and add pictures and notes to aid your memory. It's not complicated.
No.
Some mind maps can be very complicated and you need to avoid that at all costs. This is a revision tool. It's not something you want to impress somebody with. Look what I know all about this topic. This is your revision tool. So keep it simple, but really it's a really, really effective tool. Color, diagrams, pictures, whatever you can think of to help concretize those ideas in your mind.
Great.
Okay, and this is just a bigger picture of that one that was there. You can see so much information on it.
Yeah,
but
there's a lot.
It's too much there. But if you take, for example, home out and you put it onto a separate wee piece of card, you have this big one up and have this underneath it, then you can learn that wee card very, very quickly. That one part of your mind map very quickly.
But it kind of hits where we've been talking about as well, using colors, using diagrams, using pictures, using the information, putting the information in a different way that's easily accessible for our mind to go over.
Okay. And these are mind mapping tools that are on internet, and they do free trials and all the rest. Pocket's quite good as well. It's quite simple to use. But be careful of these here, because if you put it into a mind map and use this information here, sometimes it looks lovely and neat, but you really haven't got the information in your head because you haven't done enough with the information. So they're there if you want to use them. They're another tool you can use, but just be mindful they're probably not as effective as sitting down with a packet of coloured pencils and a big, big piece of paper. Posters are another way of revising. Bright, colourful way to revise. Have these up on your wall. Small pockets of information on them. And most importantly, large images or diagrams that stick in your mind. And this poster I've put up here, this is not a good example for revision. Like, you remember very, very little from that picture. It looks really well. There's lots of stuff on it. You think, that's great. That's a great revision poster. That is not a good revision poster. A revision poster is best when you make it yourself and it's in big writing, pictures that are, creative pictures, and it's up on your wall and you see it regularly, but that is not a good example. So just be careful of any pre-bought posters you might think are good revision tools because they're actually not. And remember your learning pyramid. And basically this is how you learn. So if you're just reading something, you only learn 10%. Audio visual, just watching something like a film, a podcast or something, 20%, 30% by actually demonstrating it to somebody else, 50% by discussion, 75% by practice doing, and 90% of teaching others. In other words, our average student retention rate is far better when we practice it and when we teach others. So remember, 90% of what we do, if we have got it in a position we're going to teach somebody else, and this is where you could teach your parents the reactivity series of metals. I'm going to teach you this. And then they come back and say, well, they didn't understand that. And usually they didn't understand it because you didn't understand it clearly when you were teaching it to them. Okay?
Or you practice your exam questions, you read your chapter in history or whatever it may be, and then you pass the book over to your parent or to your sibling or to your helper and ask them to ask you the questions in the summary at the end of the chapter or something like that. So it's you demonstrating, it's you hitting another one of your senses, isn't it? So yeah, that's a really good point.
But most of what we are doing, and most of what students all over the world do, is they like to sit and read. And they like to watch a podcast. And all the average student retention from that there. So you're only remembering 10% of what you read. If you spend an hour, if you spend an hour watching a film or a podcast, these things all have their place, but they're not effective revision tools. So why would you spend an hour reading something you're only going to remember 10% of it, where you could spend half an hour and you're going to remember 90% of it? That same time frame. So just be conscious of that there. And that's why I put that pyramid up there, just to think about the average student retention rates. And that's all been researched over and over again. And it's back to if you do something, you remember. Okay. And effective revision. You need to start forgetting. You think that's a really bizarre thing to say. What are we talking about here? In other words, you need to be able to look at something, remember it, and then put it in the back of your mind and try and bring it back out again. Because if you cannot bring the information back out again, then there is no point for examinations. And no examinations are such a small part of who you are, and they don't define you or anything like that there. But unfortunately, that's the system we're in, and that's the system in the world you're in for the next 6, 7, 8 weeks, whatever it is. That's the system you're in. So you need to start forgetting. In other words, you need time with separated repetition, and you need to know what to target. And this is called the Ebbinghaus forgetting curve. And basically what he is saying that you need to go through all of this repetition in order to get data remembered. So on your 4th repetition of information, and you've taken time to forget it, you've spaced it, you can learn up to 100% of the information. On your 1st repetition, you're down to 50 to 55%. And this curve was done years and years ago. But the key point of this here is that you need to take time between your revision. You need to take time to forget it. In other words, is it there at all? And can I bring it back out again? And this is the need time for this separated repetition. And sometimes when we revise and we forget that we need to go back over things again, and it's not enough to get it in, we have to get it back out again. And I just think that's a lovely curve to make you think about that. The more often you repeat things, the more chance you have to remember it. But you need to have space between them. The repetition needs to be space between them.
I guess that comes back to what you said in our last webinar as well, Mary, isn't it? About repeating it, and you repeat it after one day, after 1 week, after 2 weeks, and then, every day leading up to the exam or something like that. But it's shifting that knowledge from your short-term memory over to your long-term memory, isn't it? So it's really, really important that we, first of all, put the information in a way that we like to look at it or that suits our learning style, and then repeat it.
Yeah, and I think, this is all based on research. This isn't just me coming up with these ideas. These are eminent scientists that have spent their lives researching revision and learning, and we should take from them what they're saying. Okay, so effective revision, you need to have timetables for your revision, and it's not just about, as we talked about there, having a timetable geography. It needs to be your topic, what I did, date 1, date 2, and date 3. So your topic, whatever your topic it could be the Celts in history, what I did, and I looked at where they lived and the structure of their houses, date 1, then I did it again, and then I did it date 3. I constantly looking back over what have you actually learned. And then, topic again, date, how well do I know this? And then the colouring schemes we talked about, red, orange, and green. Orange, I know a little about this, green, it's great, I know how to do it. Red, I know nothing, and use those wee timetables there, make those wee graphs to help you with effective revision, so you know what you need to go for. A lot of the time in the next week, I really should be spent planning to make sure you have built-in time for all of the revision that you need to do. Okay, so remember to practice testing. This self-testing is critical, or get an adult or somebody to help you with this self-testing. Highlighting is important, but it's only important for marking important portions of revision material. It's not revision in itself. It's only highlighting what you need to know. The long-term revising, this distributed practice, which basically is what we're talking about, taking space between what you do it again a couple of days later, and keep doing it like that there. Summarize of revision text, key summaries, what I need to do. These are your notes, what I need to learn here. Keywords, mnemonics, if you can, use keywords and mental images to associate the keywords, and they're really, really helpful. Like the order of the planets, I've seen all those type of things as well. All of those mnemonics there to help you if they work for you. Asking why. Understand what you're learning. Ask why, why is potassium stored under oil? Think about that there, because potassium is absolutely crazy if you put it out in the air, and it fizzes all over the place. So you wouldn't put it in your pocket. It's at the top of the table. So you start to understand that, so if it reacts with air, it immediately gets really volatile. So understanding what's happening helps you remember where something is in an order. Rereading things over and over again to make sure you understand and make sure you've got the right information going in. Because sometimes with dyslexia, we can make wee simple mistakes, and we'll talk about this when we do the exams, maybe misreading developed as developing country, and then you're learning all the wrong information. So make sure what you're learning is correct. We talked about the mental images, the walks around the room or whatever, explaining steps, the self-explanation, explaining to yourself the steps that you're taking during a particular, solving a particular problem in maths. What steps am I taking here? And this interleave practice, which really just means mixing different kinds of material within a single study session. So you're not just spending an hour on geography and not actually sure what you're doing. Move it back and forward and take half an hour, 35, 40 minutes on really concise learning rather than just taking time sitting and thinking you're doing something you're actually not.
You almost become reflective, don't you, Mary?
Yeah.
Like you learn your piece, you put it in the way that you want it to, you regurgitate that to a parent or to your helper or to the support network you have around you, and then you become reflective about, well, why did I learn that? What's what use is that going to be to me, or what can I understand about that, or asking yourself that reflective question. So that's a good way of looking at it as well. To just sometimes we're just rushing from one study element to another study element, so it's good to take some time to reflect on what we've just learned.
And then check it against the mark scheme. And if you're getting it wrong, look and see why you're getting wrong. Don't just put a big X and say that's wrong.
Yeah.
What am I getting wrong here? What am I missing?
Mm-hmm.
And it could be something as simple in a maths computation.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you've used the wrong units or something like
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
Something's in maybe in millimeters and you thought it was in centimeters, or you didn't convert centimeters to millimeters. It could be something simple like that that could throw you off completely. So look for those mistakes, because this is the time to make the mistakes.
Yeah.
The mark schemes are there and the exams are there. Make the mistakes now so you can correct them. So, and I also, this is Ed Ballou from Bare Necessities, if you remember the Jungle Book. And really, this is what it's about at this stage, is getting the bare necessities in order to get through the examination. You cannot learn everything. And I know school is more about exams, and teachers will teach you a lot more to try and critical thinking and get you to discuss things. This is the time to get through the exams. So it's the bare necessities. Establish a routine, create a study environment, whatever it is. If you're allowed to go into school and maybe you don't have the space at home, have a conversation with your school. A lot of schools are opening their libraries freely, to everybody all day. And maybe that's what you need to do for your study environment. Get up in the morning, go into the library in school if that's available to you. Find somewhere that you're secure. Set a timetable, reward yourself for studying. This is not the time in your life to say, right, I'm going to go on a diet or I'm going to get fit or whatever. This is your exam time. Everything else can be dealt with after the exams. And have variety in your study program. As Mary said, that whole multi-sensory approach. Don't just sit and highlight. Don't just sit and read. Do things with your information. Whatever you can do to get that information into your mind. Avoid interrupting your concentration. In other words, don't have your mobile phone beside you. Don't have something there that can distract you. Test yourself. And I keep going over this over and over again. If you take nothing from this webinar, take that one thing, test yourself on what you've studied. Because that is the only way you're going to know if you know it, and it's the only way that you're going to be tested on it in the examination. So why would you not practice there? Don't panic. It's easy to say that, but why would you panic? You've put this time in now. You've already had 2 years of lots of learning there. So don't panic at exam time, and we'll talk a wee bit more about that when we're looking at the examination techniques. Ask for help. People want to help you. We all want a job to do. Give people jobs to do. They really would feel as if their parents want to be involved. And be kind to yourself. This is a stressful time. So accept that. Everybody's under stress. So don't be hard on yourself. And I said, don't expect too much of you as an individual. If you don't do something tonight, there's always tomorrow night. So take time out when you need it. And it's just the bare necessities. Don't try and learn everything. The key facts are the bare necessities. These key facts will trigger trains of thought. So it's Ballou from and I'm not going to sing it for you, you'll be glad to hear. But, the bare necessities, the key facts, and they'll all trigger other themes of thought, which will help you then actually learn for the examination. Okay. Some stress is okay. It even helps us to perform. You need to have a certain level of stress to be able to perform. Being distressed isn't. Ask for help.
Yeah.
If you're stressed now, remove yourself from a lot of the stressors, and a lot of the stressors are social media, people telling you how well they've done, how much they've studied. Don't believe that. Nobody puts up the bad things in social media.
Yeah.
Everybody puts up the good things. And that's all you're going to see. So don't fall into that trap of being conned by everybody else telling you how wonderful they're doing, because nobody's any different. We're all in the same boat, but you'll be in a better boat if you plan your revision, take your time, and do the best that you possibly can, and ask for help. People are out there to help you. If you're finding you're overwhelmed, and the very fact that you're stressed at all, it shows you they care. So that means you're actually in a good place, because this actually matters to you.
Yeah.
But it's keeping it under control.
And there's that method out there called the stress paradox, isn't there? Where you think when you're stressed, you're not getting anything done, but actually by you being stressed, you're getting a whole lot more done than you think you are. But it's understanding the difference between being stressed and being distressed, and not comparing yourselves to others. You're just responsible for me, myself, and I, and let everybody else off and do their study and their exam, and you work to the beat of your own drum. Isn't that right?
That's always about. And don't bottle things up. Look, we're all struggling. It's okay not to be okay.
Yeah.
We've seen that all the time. This is a particular bizarre time, particularly for young people. I keep saying the young people have struggled more than anybody in this, because they have been given a real short shift in all of this here. But that's the reality. That's where we are. We cannot change that.
No.
So don't put your effort into thinking about how woe is me. This is the situation you're in. If you're distressed, don't bottle things up. Take action. Do something about it. Talk to somebody. There's lots and lots of supports out there. Okay, and this Young Minds is a lovely site. You can look at it. Eat and drink well. Don't fill yourself up with sugar and sweets and all the rest of it, because that will just make you feel bloated and make you feel tired and lethargic. Believe in yourself. Low self-esteem can be the root cause of lots of things. I can do this. You would not be doing these exams if the teachers thought you weren't fit for them. They would have signed you up for them. Every time a student register for an examination, the school make a really conscious decision. Will this young person be fit for this exam? So if you're enrolled in this exam, lots of people in the background have made that decision. So they have decided you're well capable for it. So believe in yourself. Talk things through with people. Take time out. If you're having a bad day and nothing's going in, go for a walk, go to the park, do whatever you're allowed to do just now. And take time out. Watch, if you want to play video games or whatever you enjoy doing, do that. Take that time out and start again tomorrow.
Yeah.
You've still got this time to get yourself organized. You won't have that luxury the night before an exam to take time out and start again tomorrow. So take the time now when you get it. Helping other people, be good to the people in your house, be creative, help people. And that makes you feel better when you're contributing to your house. And exercise is so, so important. Lots and lots of research, and you all know this. The exercise makes your brain release chemicals that make you feel good, the same chemicals that you get from antidepressants, the same endorphins you get back. So take exercise, and exercise doesn't have to be severe. It can be just going for a walk in the fresh air.
Yeah.
And that's what you might have to do. If you're going for a walk, sometimes go for a walk and just take time out. Other times you could take your podcasts with you and listen to some of your notes. But sometimes it's important to take time out. But the most important thing in all of this here is the exams don't change who you are. They're just a process that you have to go through in the next few weeks to maybe get on to the next stage of your journey. So look after yourself, take care. And if you're becoming distressed, talk to somebody, take advice from people. Don't bottle things up, because everybody has been there, and your parents have been there. They know what it's like and they want the best for you. And there's always somebody around who cares enough that you should talk to. If you don't want to talk to your parents, talk to somebody.
And this will end, I think, is a really important one to remember as well, that, this is in front of you right this moment. Your Leaving Cert is coming, it's down the line for you. But in a couple of weeks, it'll be over and it'll be in your past, it'll be in your history, and you'll never have to think about it again, so you will get through it.
It's only a stepping stone. That's all it is. It's nothing else. It doesn't change who you are. It doesn't change as a person. It just means you've got the key to the door. Whatever that door is you want to open, that's giving you the key. That's all these exams, and that's the only purpose they serve. Okay.
Great.
Well, hopefully you get something from this afternoon, and then we'll do another couple of webinars now in the next few weeks, actually looking at the examination and the technique. And as I keep reiterating, examinations are not about intelligence. They're simply about technique. And we'll look at the techniques now in the next couple of webinars. So thank you again for your time. Okay.
Thanks, Mary. So as Mary said there, we'll welcome you back shortly for webinar 5 and 6, where we're going to look at the exam techniques, and we'll chat to you all then. Take care. Bye now.
Bye.